Hi, this is Christian Triola, author of the Missing Method for Guitar books. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to play a classic blues riff that every guitar player should know. Without the blues, we wouldn't have rock and roll today. We wouldn't have a lot of jazz, even some country would be eliminated. And so the blues is fundamental to not just popular music, but to the guitar as well. So every guitar player, regardless of interest, will take the time to learn the blues. This riff has been used by all sorts of musicians, from the old blues players like Robert Johnson to Eric Clapton, and then you have more hard rock players sort of like ZZ Top or Led Zeppelin, even Guns N' Roses and guys like that. All of them have used the blues in their music, and that's just to name a handful compared to the probably millions of blues-based songs that are out there. So our first step is to learn the chords that we'll need in order to play this riff. So chord number 1 is a simple A5 power chord. And so to play that, you just take one finger, place it on the 4th string, 2nd fret, and then you play that along with the 5th string. So here's what it sounds like. So that's the A5 power chord. Now we're not going to just stay on that in this riff. What we're going to do is use the 3rd finger to reach up and press down on the 4th fret on that same string. Now what I'm doing is keeping my 1st finger in position because we're going to go back to that again. This chord is technically called A6 just to make it easy to remember because it's an A plus a note 6 notes away. So here's what this one sounds like. And so what you do is you play the first one twice and then the second one twice. So it has this back and forth toggling type of sound. So we have. And so what I'm doing is I'm playing swing 8th notes and I'm using 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the first 2 strums are on the A5. The next 2 strums are on the A6. So let's go ahead and move on to our next chord. It's almost the same exact thing, we just have to change the strings we're on. So we're going to take that first finger that was on string number 4, move it to string 3. So now we're going to play the middle 2 strings, which is the D note plus the A, and that's the D5 power chord when you play it together. And then for the second chord, we'll again reach up with the 3rd finger 2 frets higher, and now you have the D6. And so you would play that with that same swing feel. So it sounds something like that. The next chord and final chord for the song is the E5 to E6 power chords. So for that one, we're going to go to the last 2 strings and put your 1st finger at the 5th string 2nd fret, keep the last string open, and you play those 2 together. That's your E5. And then just like the other ones for E6, we bring the 3rd finger up. And now we have an E6. It again is 2 frets higher than where you were. But you want to keep your 1st finger in place because again, you can go right back to it without having to move your fingers around much. So those are the chords you would use in that blues riff. So the next thing we're going to do is take those 3 chords, 3 basic chords, and then use them in a classic 12-bar blues progression. So if you're not familiar with the 12-bar blues, what that is a classic 12-measure pattern of chords that has a predictable pattern to it that everybody who plays blues or plays rock knows how to play. So what you have is you have 4 measures of all the same chord, at least most of the time. There are some exceptions, of course. And so what we'll do is play that first chord, the A5 to A6, for 4 measures. The next 2 measures, we're going to play the D5 to D6. And then for 2 measures after that, we'll return to the A5, A6. And that takes up the first 8 measures. So in the last 4 measures, we have an E5 to E6 for 2, and then an A5 to A6 for 2 to finish it off. So I'm going to go ahead and play that whole pattern, and it is available in the PDF that comes with this video. So make sure you download that if you haven't already. Okay, so here we go. Full 12-bar blues in the key of A, starting with the A5 power chord. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. I kind of added a little extra on the end there just so you knew it was coming to an end. And sometimes in the very last measure, you'll hear it go back to the E5 chord, because that'll set it up so you could repeat and then continue on, because most of the time a 12-bar blues is repeated over and over again in order to construct an entire song. All right, so that's the simplified version of that, or the easiest way to play it, and it sounds great. You could probably play tons and tons of songs just with that. But we're going to take that one step further. Now, a lot of you are aware of those power chords. They're pretty easy to do. They're one-finger chords. So what we're going to do next is take those same chord sounds and move them up the neck so that you can see another pattern that you can use to play the same riff. So this time, we're going to start with the 5th fret with the 1st finger. Then the next finger, the 3rd finger, is going to be on string 5, fret number 7. So that's our A5 power chord. So you can hear what it sounds like there. Next up, we're going to take the pinky and reach all the way up to the 9th fret. And that plays together with that 1st finger. Now the 3rd finger, it doesn't really matter that it's there, except for the fact we're going to want to go back to it. So it doesn't affect the sound, but it does make it easier to play if you just keep that down and move the pinky back and forth. All right, so just a quick demonstration. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you can see that's just all pinky. The other 2 fingers are simply locked in place as I'm playing that. And so the same thing applies for the next 2 chords. So the next one, of course, is D5, which you're going to find on the next string, 5th string, 5th fret, then on the 7th fret with the 3rd finger. And again, when you switch to D6, the pinky is going to come up to the 9th fret. So same idea. So here's what that will sound like. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to the final chord, the E5. So instead of going lower like it did in the first example, in this E5 actually goes higher. So in this example, we're just going to take that D5 and move it up 1, 2 frets. And that takes you to the E5 power chord. So you would play that, and again for E6, you move up 2 frets with the pinky. So you're up at the 11th fret. And you just toggle back and forth once again. And there you have it. You have all 3 chords to play that pattern in a new position on the neck. So I'm going to go ahead and play through that whole 12-bar blues again using those chords so you can hear and see what it looks like. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. That's the riff that every guitar player should be able to play. And the nice thing about that second one is once you learn it, it's real easy to change keys. You want to play it in B flat, just move the whole pattern up a half step. If you want to play it in F, move the whole pattern down to the 1st fret. So wherever your 1st chord starts, your next one will be on the next string. Your 3rd chord will be a whole step higher. And that's it. You can play the 12-bar blues then in pretty much any key on the guitar, just like that. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you like and subscribe. I always appreciate it when you do that. And make sure you look for more blues videos coming out soon.